Welcome to this episode of The Wisdom of Paramahansa Yogananda, brought to you by Self-Realization Fellowship, where each week you can receive inspiration and guidance from Paramahansa Yogananda's Kriya Yoga teachings. The subject of this talk is Bringing God into Our Daily Life by Brother Kartikananda.
So today we're going to talk about how to bring God into our daily lives. I thought before we jump into it, let's talk about what does this mean? What does it mean to bring God into our daily lives? Because it seems quite simple, right? A question, a statement. But what does it mean? We bring a lot of things into our daily lives, don't we? A lot of things. Some important, some less important. We have to care for our families, we have to work, we have to serve, we sleep a lot, we do a lot of browsing the internet maybe. Do we shop on Amazon quite a bit? I don't know, I do sometimes. But bringing God into our daily lives, sometimes it's a foreign concept when we start on the spiritual path, isn't it? What does that mean? What does that really mean? So I thought, let's start with the definition. What is God? What is this force? How can it be real and practical for me so that I know what I'm bringing into my life? And God is defined by Paramahansa Yogananda, which is very special and something that drew me to this path incredibly well. He defined God as ever-existing, ever-conscious, ever-new bliss. In other words, unending happiness. Unending happiness. So that's what we're trying to bring into our lives daily, unending happiness. And it's different. It's lasting happiness. It's not the same as that happiness you get when you fulfill an earthly desire. Let's say you bought that bike. It does make you happy for a little while, or whatever it is. It can cause a little happiness, right? But it goes away. We start looking for the next thing, don't we? So what we're talking about today is that type of happiness that does not fade with time. It goes on and on. It's hard to imagine, isn't it? It's hard to imagine. So the goal is to bring that into our lives. So we have to take the actions that do so. One Catholic priest said, "Joy does not simply happen to us. We have to choose joy and keep choosing it every day." Wise counsel, wise counsel. So what are those actions that can bring that level of happiness, the unending happiness, into our daily lives? God. I'll cover 3 points today. And the first is the most obvious and most important, and that's meditation. That's meditation. And you who come regularly to these services, you hear us exhort from this pulpit the idea that we must develop a regular and daily meditation practice, right? In order to advance and really in order to find that lasting happiness. That is the first and most important way to bring God into our daily lives. Regular meditation practice. And it's really very practical admonition we're making up here, and it bears repeating, doesn't it? Because we have to hear it over and over. Because we can do more. We can always do more and better in meditation. So many things come in to crowd in and take this understanding away from us in modern society, doesn't it? The whole intent behind modern marketing and engagement through TV, film, social media, it's designed to keep you restless. That is the whole design. I ran across this statement here. This is the purpose of emotional marketing. Listen to this. The promise of a marketing technique. Although most modern marketing approaches seek to stir an audience's feelings to at least some extent, making an emotional connection with the target audience is the primary objective of emotional marketing. Yes, that emotion may be positive, as with joy, excitement, anticipation, or pride. However, many successful campaigns also leverage fear, anger, or envy. This is the way of the world. This is the way of the world. Whether it's positive or negative, we are drawn outward. I was driving yesterday or the day before behind an Amazon truck, and the slogan on the truck said, "Warning, contents may cause happiness." Temporary happiness, though, right? Temporary happiness. So the world really leverages our emotions, stirs to drive us where it wants, to focus outward. And really, focusing outward is the whole definition of this delusion, of this Maya, of this dream reality, this outward focus. Because if we don't focus outward, it would go away. It would go away. And this is really the makeup of the whole cosmos. And we see this in the God Talks with Arjuna. Paramahansa Yogananda says, Maya, the magical measurer that makes the one appear as many embracing their own individuality, forms and intelligences existing in apparent separation from the Creator. Just as a dreamer differentiates his one consciousness into many dream beings in a dream world. So that's what we do at night. But that's what we're doing right now. We're dreaming. We're dreaming. This isn't even real. So the whole creation, the whole world, it's set to take our attention outward. And this is Maya. We have to stay focused outward or we'll wake up and the dream ends. Yoganandaji and these great gurus have come here to wake us up through the meditation techniques. That's one way, through the meditation techniques. They want to wake us from this nightmare, from this dream. It's not always pleasant, is it? It's a struggle. And we think we can wrest happiness from the world, don't we? We try and we try and we try. We make valiant effort to wrest happiness from the world, from our senses. But it's kind of odd, isn't it? Would we try to do that in a dream? Do we try to wrest happiness from a dream? Do we continue to do that? We wake up from the dream and we don't pay it much more attention, unless it was a really intense one, but we usually don't pay it much more attention, do we? But this one's pervasive. This one's pervasive. Hence, why we say meditate, go within, reconnect over and over again with the ultimate reality. That's what we're trying to do. Wake up. We're trying to wake up, really. We need to wake up. Sri Dayamata, our revered third president of Self-Realization Fellowship, said this. She said, unless and until you have formed the habit of daily meditation, morning and night, you will not be able to satisfy your own soul. She goes on, this applies to all of our members around the world. In the life of a self-realizationist, there is a time every morning and every night that should be as important as, and even more important than, the time set aside for eating and sleeping. When a devotee will have that conviction and that yearning and that determination to make a time every day for God, just as he makes a time for food and sleep, then you may know for certain he is going to reach his goal. But unfortunately, so many other habits have been formed, not only during this life, but many lives, that we try to flee from this responsibility, from this divine duty. But there is no valid reason for which you can ever say that you have not had the opportunity to seek God deeply in meditation. You are fooling yourself, but you're not fooling God. So basically, she's telling us, she's really pleading with us, saying, stop fooling yourself. Stop fooling yourself that anything is more important than the time we spend in meditation. That anything can be. It's such a beautiful and simple message of this truth. We have to stop being drawn away from the most important engagements with God, because that's where we will find the unending happiness. That's the only place we'll find it. That's the only place we'll find it. Here's a story I wanted to share with you about how difficult it is, even for very advanced souls, to make this effort in meditation. So I won't tell you who it is until the end of the story. This is from the life of a great mystic and master of meditation. So she was brought to a convent of sisters to teach them about the way of meditation. So she did so in great depth and much skill. Towards the end of the time, she was asked by one of the sisters to describe how she herself meditated. So she took the last half hours and gathered and began by saying she had gone to the chapel with them, genuflected before the Lord in the Blessed Sacrament, and interiorly dedicated this time of prayer to Him. Then she sat in stillness and almost immediately was distracted by a sunbeam illuminating the corner of the chapel that showed a little dust. She began to think to herself, that sister in charge of the sweeping wasn't doing a very good job. But she remembered she was there to pray and returned to meditation. A few moments passed, and then she noticed that the sister kneeling in front of her had 3 nails in the sole of one sandal, but 4 in the other. Where could the other one have gone, she wondered. Was it a case of too few nails in one or too many in the other? But she remembered she was there to pray and returned to her meditation. A few moments passed, and then she noticed that the breathing of the sister beside her was in a different rhythm to her own. And she began to listen to the music of her breath. But she remembered she was there to pray and went back to meditating. Saint Teresa continued to describe the ongoing oscillation from distraction to distraction that to her listeners seemed to comprise the whole of her meditation, much to the dismay of the sisters. At the end of one of the sisters, she blurted out, "But then you were just distracted the whole of your meditation." "Ah," said Teresa, smiling, "yes, I was distracted, but I returned each time, and that makes all the difference." That makes all the difference. Don't get discouraged. Even the great saints, Saint Teresa of Avila, this is from Saint... I was pretty shocked when I read this story, actually, to tell you the truth. I hadn't heard it before. Even the great saints, don't get discouraged. Make the effort. Silence the distractions as much as we can. Turn off your cell phone. Don't get into the habit of waking up and looking at the cell phone. Turn it off. Have a quiet place. If it's not quiet enough, use earplugs or noise-canceling headphones. Turn off the senses. It's not easy to get calm and find that stillness. And once the outer silence, we find that, then we have to contend with the inner, just like she did. Just like she did. But in God Talks with Arjuna, it tells us that those who persist in meditation will ultimately succeed. It goes on and says, when a yogi and again fights his restlessness and distractions, and with ever-increasing intensity tries to feel divine communion in meditation, he will form a good habit of calm interiorization. In time, this habit will displace the mortal habit of restive sensory bondage and will lead ultimately to realization of divinity. So don't get discouraged. We have to persevere, keep making the effort. It doesn't have to be for hours. A little bit goes a long, long way. Fight the good fight. This is how we bring God into our daily lives. This is how we do it. The world makes it a challenge for us, though. As it says in this quote from the Divine Romance, everything will come to tempt you as soon as you want God. You are made to feel that in worldly diversions you will find happiness, but that diversion takes you away from your spiritual pursuits and destroys your willpower. So we have to keep making the effort. Everything will come to tempt us when we try to make that effort, because the world, this is the way of the world. The world, Maya, delusion, that's how it persists. It's not personal. It's not personal. Imagine all the effort. Remember a couple months ago when we were watching the Olympics? All the effort, all the time, all the energy from those athletes that went into perfecting their craft, their skills. Everything, can you imagine? They probably wanted to quit endless times. Were distracted. But they went on. That's how they became the best at what they did. That's how they won the gold medal. And so we need to become spiritual athletes, proficient in the art of silent meditation. And it will happen if we make the effort. So I don't know about you, but I want the gold medal. I want the gold medal of bliss consciousness. That's what I'm seeking. But just meditation on its own is not enough. It's not enough. We must then take the fruits of that meditation and apply that connection into all of our activities, all of our thoughts, all of our relationships. And that's the second point we're going to talk about today. So we just talked about meditation. Now we're going to talk about right activity and right attitude. Right activity, right attitude. Sri Dayamata said, right activity involves learning how to get along with your fellow man. Right activity cannot come about without self-discipline. It is the very basis of the spiritual life. So after we rise from our meditation seat and we enter the battle din of activity, this is where the challenges begin, right? This is where the peace goes away so quickly at times if we're not careful. If only others would act correctly. It's so easy, really, to put the blame, isn't it? To play the blame game, right? And see others' faults. But this is a dead-end road. It really is. It's a dead-end road. There's so many hidden things we cannot see, and I found these two simple stories to illustrate this point. I think they're very nice. I think you'll like them. We can't see the whole picture. So this is why the blame game, it's a losing battle. It really is. Here's a story about a king. One day, while the king was distributing food to the priests, an eagle flew overhead carrying a dead snake. A drop of poison from the snake fell into the food without anyone noticing. The Brahmin who received the poisoned food died, and the king was devastated. The servant of Yamaraja, the god of death, faced a dilemma. Who should bear the karma for this incident? The eagle was just carrying its food. The snake was already dead. And the king had no knowledge of the poison. What does this story highlight? Fault finding can be really complex, can't it? And often quite unfair. Events are so beyond our control sometimes. Sure, certainly people do things to us and there is fault, right? But even then, that's their issue. That's their issue. My issue is, how do I react? How am I behaving? Here's another one. The 4 silent friends. There were 4 friends who decided to meditate in silence for 7 days. To ensure they wouldn't be disturbed, they hired an assistant to take care of their needs. On the first evening, the assistant lit an oil lamp. As the night progressed, the oil began to run low and the light dimmed. The first friend, unable to contain himself, shouted, "Attend to the lamp!" The second friend, surprised, said, "Have you forgotten? We are not supposed to speak." The third friend chimed in, "You fools, why are you talking?" Finally, the fourth friend proudly declared, "I am the only one who has kept silent." The moral of the story? We often judge others quickly, forgetting our own imperfections, don't we? Be more understanding, less critical of others. Look at our side of the street. That's right attitude. That's right activity. That's how we'll maintain that peace of meditation. So how do we maintain that equanimity within? so we don't jump on this judgment train, so we don't get on those tracks. Once it's started, it's hard to stop, isn't it? Once the mind starts going, fault-finding, anger, it's not just judgment, it's fault-finding, anger. These things have an energy of their own once we entertain them. It's hard to pop out of it. So we have to keep our minds always on a high plane. We have to stay connected to that peace and joy that we found in meditation, in our morning meditation, in our evening meditation. So something I've been practicing to keep my mind and to retake my mind from those pathways, since listening to Brother Kartikananda, who's our revered president, he gave a class at Convocation, and he talked about maintaining the living link with the gurus. The living link with the gurus. He was talking to around 3,000 people at our annual Convocation, and it's on our YouTube channel, so you can go watch it. And he was telling them the way to hold on to the benefits of spending that week at Convocation immersed in the teachings, hopefully feeling uplifted. So he's saying, how do you go back to your homes and maintain that? He said this, you see, my dear ones, this is the way that you make permanent what you have gained this week. Those gains of spiritual awareness, of higher consciousness, of clarity of purpose. This is the way that you hold on to it, by maintaining a living link with Christ, Krishna, and the Masters. Better than that, be a living link with Christ, Krishna, and the Masters. We must never think that there's any distance between us and those great ones. We should never accept it. Those divine ones have been sent to us by God to bring us freedom, to bring us healing, to bring us guidance, to bring us bliss. There's no distance. If we ever feel that is becoming a little tenuous or hard to hold on to, you know what to do. You just stop whenever you can, stop what you're doing, find a time or a place just to have a moment of interiorization. You close your eyes and you look within and you say to them, Jesus, Krishna, Babaji, Lahiri Mahashai, Sri Yukteswarji, and Gurudeva, manifest in the light of my spiritual eye. Let's practice that just for a moment. Sit up straight and just silently, I'll repeat the names and just silently in your mind think after me. This is what we do. This is a technique for bringing our minds back to the higher consciousness. So I'll just repeat the names and you just silently repeat them yourselves. Jesus, Krishna, Babaji, Lahiri Mahashai, Sri Yukteswarji, and Gurudeva, manifest in the light of my spiritual eye. Jesus, Krishna, Babaji, Lahiri Mahashai, Sri Yukteswarji, Gurudeva, manifest in the light of my spiritual eye. Jesus, Krishna, Babaji, Lahiri Mahashai, Sri Yukteswarji, Gurudeva, manifest in the light of my spiritual eye. So we take a moment when we feel distracted, when we feel pulled down during the day. Practice this simple technique. There's many others you can practice, many affirmations. Something that works for you. And then hold on to this peace and calmness. Again, when we're recentered, hold on to it. And then you can take on the world. You can take on anything. They will help you. If you ask, they will help you. And you can talk to them anytime. Ask them for assistance. Ask them for guidance. Don't be afraid. Don't let guilt or shame or any of these negative emotions block you from asking for guidance, from reconnecting over and over again with the gurus, with the divine emissaries who are here to help us and guide us. Sometimes we think we can hide our secrets from the gurus, from God, but we can't. They see us, and they don't judge us. It's us who judge ourselves so harshly. And then we get into these negative mind games, and then we don't make the effort. Isn't it so? It's pernicious. Don't let your mind take over. Talk to them, plead with them if necessary. Help remove the darkness from our vision, from our thoughts, from our habits. That's how we maintain right activity, right attitude throughout our days. That's how we bring God into our daily lives. Stop, stay in attunement with this power, with this energy. I find sometimes my mind can get stuck on the judgment train or in these negative pathways. Just gets chugging along. But having a technique like this, eventually I can pull myself back out of that, into the light, into understanding. And we just have to keep fighting. It becomes more and more natural and easier and easier to maintain that peace throughout the day. It becomes easier. Don't allow yourself to be consumed by the negativity. If you fail over and over, that's fine. It's okay. Keep trying. No one's judging you. No one's judging you. Lift yourself back up over and over again. Yoganandaji says, real devotees know that even if they have not been able to give up bad habits, they can bring God closer and closer by constantly calling upon Him and expecting Him to be present at all times, to take part in their daily lives as well as to respond to them in their moments of prayer. They know that all things are possible to God and that most understanding lies beyond the intellect. When the devotee insistently demands the assistance and presence of God, lovingly visualizing Him and believing in His omnipresence, then the Lord will reveal Himself in some form. With the dawning of the light of His revelation, the darkness of evil habits will automatically be banished to reveal the untainted soul. So this is one way to practice right activity, to practice getting along with others. We stay connected with the divine. That's one way to maintain that right activity, that right attitude. And then we make our decisions from that place. There's other aspects of right activity that can help bring God into our daily lives, and that brings me to my third point, service, selfless service. The Bhagavad Gita, Yogananda says, for the aspiring devotee in the world and in the ashram, the call of the Bhagavad Gita is to make the heart a hermitage of God wherein, as a renunciant, one strives for inner desirelessness and non-attachment, and, as a yogi, one envelops himself in the meditative bliss of the divine presence and then offers his actions in selfless service to share that presence with other seeking souls. So we have to do it the right way around, though. So you notice in this quote it says, connect ourselves with this power, with this divine intelligence, until we ourselves are not quite as broken. And then, when we're in more in attunement, then we can be of service to others. So really, meditation is a way of being service to others. Back to the first point. Sometimes our service can be overt, but most of the time it's covert, isn't it? It's under the radar. We can be a secret agent of bliss, running a covert operation uplifting the world. A secret agent of bliss through our good deeds and our right action. It doesn't have to be grand our service to others. It doesn't have to be magical and out there. It can be simple, like a smile. We really often have no idea how much just a smile or being nice to someone can affect their day, can affect their lives, do we? It's hard to know. Haven't you been around people like that just uplift you automatically? Positive, happy people? I personally felt that a lot in self-realization. I feel that around all of you. Absolutely. I feel uplifted. I've been blessed to meet our third and fourth presidents, Sri Dayamata and Sri Mrinalini Mata, and I've been lucky enough to work with our president now, Brother Kartikananda. These special souls, they have an energy that just uplifts. They don't have to say or do anything, although what they say and do is very uplifting as well. They've made the effort, though. These great souls have made the effort. So we have to make our own effort. We can become just like them. That's the magic of this path. That's the magic. It's not exclusive. It's for everyone. It's for everyone. We just have to make the effort. And then that's how making the effort is how we be of service to others. So in the lessons, Paramahansa Yogananda says, humbleness is expressed in selfless service. Very few persons are free from self-centeredness. Yet one can develop the quality of unselfishness very easily by making it a habit to think of others first. How many can relate to that concept? Very few persons are free from self-centeredness. I can. It's exhausting. Being so self-centered. It can be exhausting. A famous person once said, a person completely wrapped up in himself makes a small package. Funny, but tragic. And the Dalai Lama states the truth well. He said, too much self-centered attitude brings you isolation. The result, loneliness, fear, anger. The extreme self-centered attitude is the source of suffering. So it's clear, we need to be of service to others, and how do we do it? There's many ways. First, meditate. We can serve in a temple, in a center, in a group. Now there's lots of online ways to serve in Self-Realization Fellowship. That's one way to be of service. We can pray for others. In the Worldwide Prayer Council, you can join the monastics. We do it every morning and every evening. You can volunteer your time in some other way. Most importantly, be nice. Be nice. Here's a beautiful story of a girl at a train station which shows the importance of just being nice. This little girl said, my mom sent me away for a few weeks when I was young because she didn't want me around. I was terrified and she yelled at me a lot at the train station for not appreciating how much the train ticket cost. She was 8 years old and was taking a 12-hour trip by herself to somewhere unknown. There was this girl who would have been about 15. She noticed her crying at the train station, came and sat next to her when her mother left. She held my hand and spoke to her about random things and took my mind off of what was to come. This was about 25 years ago. I will forever remember that girl. I think of her often. I hope she is living a wonderful life. I wish she knew how much that random act of kindness meant to me. Random acts of kindness. Do we do that? Do we do that enough? It's a beautiful testimony how we can change the lives of others by simply being kind. Simply being kind. And ironically, these acts of service are really in our best interest. Because who are we serving? What are we serving? We're all connected. In the deepest sense, we're serving our higher self. So it's spiritual selfishness to serve others. We're serving others. We're serving ourselves in others. We expand our own cup of consciousness. The same thing that we're trying to do in meditation when we're of selfless service. So to recap, bringing God into our daily lives means bringing in lasting, true happiness through specific actions. And we covered 3 points today. First, meditation. We can't get to the other 2 points without making the effort in meditation, which powers us to go on, to continue striving to wake up from this dream world into a land of eternal peace and joy. Second, right activity. If we meditate, then we can act rightly, and we can attune ourselves to peace in meditation. This right activity then helps our meditation. It becomes a good loop of repetition instead of the bad habit loops we tend to fall into. And third, service. If we find ourselves falling into the loop of selfish activity, thoughts, actions, take a moment, think of another. Get out of your own head. Practice some selfless service. Meditation, right activity, selfless service. I'll end by repeating this quote. Real devotees know that even if they have not been able to give up bad habits, they can bring God closer and closer by constantly calling upon Him and expecting Him to be present at all times, to take part in their daily lives.
This has been a production of Self-Realization Fellowship, a non-profit organization founded by Paramahansa Yogananda in 1920. For more information about Self-Realization Fellowship and Paramahansa Yogananda, please visit yogananda.org.